This is part 1 out of 2 in ranking the top 30 theme parks I've been to. Ranking your favorite roller coasters is a topic that many coaster enthusiasts make YouTube videos out of, but ranking your favorite amusement parks is something that is definitely less common. In today's video, I'll be breaking that stereotype and we'll be ranking the top 30 parks I've been to. Something that you should already know about me is I absolutely love my theme parks, arguably more so than amusement parks. For those of you who don't know the difference, think of a theme park more as a Disney or Universal style park, and an amusement park more of a Six Flags or Cedar Fair park. Although you don't come across these enthusiasts often, I am a massive fan of all of those. I think what defines a good park, regardless of the genre of park, is a good overall ride lineup, great atmosphere, fast operations, good food offerings, awesome customer service, and etc. Those, along with many other criteria, is what I'll be looking at for my rankings of the top 30 parks I've been to. With that being said, don't expect a pitch-perfect order, as ranking parks is a million times more difficult than ranking coasters. There are dozens and dozens of things that make a park great, and so to take all of them into account and stack up against each other is quite challenging. Nonetheless, I think I've done a pretty good job, so I hope you guys are all satisfied with the result. Do know before we get in that this is all my personal opinion, and also that if you guys would like to support the channel, dropping a like on the video and subscribing would mean the world to me. But other than that, I think we've gone over all the key information, so without further ado, these are the top 30 theme parks I've been to. Number 30, Adventureland in Altoona, Iowa. Iowa's largest and one of their only real amusement parks can be found right outside of Des Moines and actually caught me quite a bit by surprise. The park has its fair share of quirks and uniquenesses that differentiate it from other parks on this list. But most importantly, it's got a good selection of rides, it's fairly beautiful, and it's got some great staff. All of the ride operators I encountered at Adventureland were both super nice and tried their best at pumping out trains quickly. Back on the topic of rides though, the reason thrill seekers will want to come out here is for Monster, which is the best Gerstlauer roller coaster anywhere on the continent. I also got a real kick out of Dragon Slayer, Outlaw, and their raft ride, Sawmill Splash. The last thing that's worth mentioning is that this park has a unique atmosphere, as it was designed by the same people who have designed the entrance and Main Street area of Disneyland. It's seriously bizarre walking in and seeing a knockoff Main Street USA only to find that there is no castle in the middle. But anyways, this is a super fun park. It's not really easy to get to if you're on a coaster road trip, and especially if you live nowhere close, but it's worth it to get out here and I'm almost certain you'll have a good time. Number 29, Six Flags New England in Agawam, Massachusetts. This is what I describe to be the most Six Flagsy of the Six Flags parks I've been to. Sections of the park feel less taken care of than others, park policies are inconsistent from ride to ride, operations are either great or terrible, and yeah, that kind of thing. My first experience here was an odd one too, since the park had been shut down 2 days prior due to a nasty storm in the town. Funny enough, it was still raining all day on our visit, but the park did an excellent job getting all their coasters back up and running, and they seem to be running 2 trains on mostly all their coasters too. With that said, they still do stack most of the time, which definitely isn't something you want to see when the sky is pissing on you, but it wasn't the big deal because there was no lines. And even with my first visit being an odd one, I still had a good time here though. Wicked Cyclone and Superman the Rider are going to be your 2 signatures here, both of which are roller coasters and are absolutely awesome. So I definitely recommend hitting this park up if you're in an area or on a road trip, but I wouldn't go too far out of the way to come here, especially if you have the choice to go here versus something like Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey. This is a really good park, but not a great one, and at the end of the day, that's all you can really say about Six Flags New England. Number 28, Enchanted Forest in Turner, Oregon. I bet none of you saw this one coming. I got to visit this park in 2018 and had a great time here. They may be lacking in rides and roller coasters, as they only have 3 to 4 that are noteworthy enough to ride. These include 2 very unique coasters, Timber Mountain Log Ride and Ice Mountain Bobsleds, and the Challenge of Mondor Dark Ride and Haunted Mansion walkthrough attraction. Other than that, you'll probably want to put the rides aside and focus on the park itself for basically every other aspect. With it being a classic family-owned amusement park, the charm here is unmatched, and I'd argue the atmosphere is the best of almost any park I've been to. Some of the sections and walkways make you think you aren't even in a theme park and instead make you feel like you're in the Land of Oz or something. When you enter the park, the first thing you'll see is a fairy tale-like castle in which you enter and make way on a long walk past tons of walkthroughs and theming related to nursery rhymes. It's something I've never seen in another park, at least to this extent, and for that alone, it's worth coming out here. If you're ever in Oregon for any apparent reason, you've got to do yourself a favor and support this independently owned gem. Number 27, SeaWorld San Antonio. I really wasn't expecting to like this park as much as I did, especially because roller coaster enthusiasts tend to hate on this place more so than praise it. They say it's got more space and land that they know what to do with and that they're lacking in a good ride lineup. Personally, I think both are false, and I go as far as to rank this park over the likes of SeaWorld Orlando and San Diego. It could be because I visited this park during the Christmas event, which was absolutely incredible, but the entire park seemed to be very well taken care of, and in the dead spots you could tell that they're trying to fill stuff into the best of their ability. Building Wavebreaker, Texas Stingray, and the world's largest S&S Scream and Swing next year has been an excellent start, and all three of these rides are awesome too. What also may be of interest in terms of rides are Steel Eel, the park's Morgan Mega Coaster, and Great White, the B&M Invert Batman clone, which are both tons of fun as well. More importantly, you can't talk about SeaWorld without bringing up the animals. As with other parks in the chain, SeaWorld San Antonio has great shows, exhibits, and wildlife interaction. Of course, I mean, it's a SeaWorld park. So I know this park gets overshadowed by the other great parks of Texas, but nonetheless, I cannot recommend a visit here any more than I already have. It really is a great park. Number 26, Lagoon in Farmington, Utah. This independently owned amusement park can be found just north of Salt Lake City in a small outskirt called Farmington. This area is most well known for boasting Utah's largest and only real amusement park, and although the state doesn't have a lot of options for thrill seekers, Lagoon definitely has its strong suits. For starters, this place has a fantastic overall ride lineup. With 10, soon to be 11 roller coasters and their star attraction Canobie, this alone is enough of a reason for Lagoon to be put on the map for enthusiasts. They also have a nice selection of flat rides such as Samurai, which is currently my favorite top scan attraction, and Flying Aces, which is one of the best flying scooter attractions in the US. Additionally, you can find some great water rides like Rattlesnake Rapids and Log Flume, and some above average classic dark rides in Terror Ride and Dracula's Castle. So clearly, as you can see, Lagoon doesn't really have any dead spots in their ride collection. I also enjoyed their classic yet quirky atmosphere, and the park is gorgeous with a stunning mountain backdrop. As I said earlier, thrill seekers may struggle to find decent options in Utah, but the one really good one is Lagoon, and I can ensure that you'll have a great time at this awesome park. Number 25, Silverwood Theme Park in Athol, Idaho. Marketed as the Pacific Northwest's largest amusement park, this is another independently owned and operated park situated 30 minutes north of Coeur d'Alene. Silverwood, to me, was a prime example of a park that isn't going to blow your mind, but still checks off all of the boxes for what makes a park good. Currently, the park has 7 roller coasters on offer, including Stunt Pilot, their new for 2021 Rocky Mountain Construction Raptor coaster, which is my personal favorite ride there. What you may have also noticed is that Silverwood does have less coasters than Lagoon, but still ranks over it, and that's just because coasters aren't everything. But even with that being said, I think I'd still take Silverwood's lineup over Lagoon's. I find that this is a very quality over quantity oriented coaster collection. The big 4 coasters here, and the reason coaster enthusiasts make the trek out to Silverwood, are absolutely incredible, with Aftershock, Tremors, Timber Terror, and the aforementioned Stunt Pilot. Some more things I love is that the park seemed very well taken care of and very well landscaped. With it being in Idaho, it's also going to smell pretty fresh, and it's just been a beautiful environment. Another thing I love, the park has super solid food options, and how reasonably priced they are is actually beyond me. It's not just food either. Really, most everything at Silverwood is fairly priced, which means a lot to me after traveling to so many amusement parks that charge a hefty fee on things. So sure, Silverwood is pretty out there and is an unreasonable option if you're on a coaster road trip, but if you are anywhere remotely close or have a desire to get out to the park, I'd absolutely recommend taking the chance because it'll make for a super fun visit. Number 24, Six Flags Over Texas in Arlington, Texas. For being the original Six Flags park and opening way back in 1961, this place is actually pretty great. First of all, it's conveniently placed right by Dallas, which is 3 to 4 hours away from any other major amusement park in Texas, but that can make for a quick layover park or day trip out. But the big question is this worth it? And to that, I'd for sure say yes. The park has a nice atmosphere with some cool Texas charm and has a great ride lineup on top of that. For roller coaster fans, look no further than New Texas Giant, Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast, Shockwave, and Titan. Those are the big 4 rides that you're going to want to make sure to get on if you have a time crunch. The park also does have a strong collection of flat rides with the Riddler Revenge Giant Discovery, Texas Sky Screamer Flat Ride, Superman Tower of Power Drop Tower, and Harley Quinn Spin Sanity, which probably looks better than it rides. If there is one critique I have with this park, it's that they could up their game on the food offerings. It could have been possible that we just didn't know where to go, but we eventually settled on ice cream as a meal because we didn't want to have to search around for something decent. Unless those of you over Texas home parkers have any suggestions, I would personally recommend VB Steakhouse, which is a restaurant right outside the park, and it is absolutely delicious, though it is really expensive. But anyways, that was kind of off topic. Let me just say that this is a great Six Flags park overall, definitely one of the top 5 I've been to from the chain. Number 23, Universal Studios Hollywood in Universal City, California. We've all heard this name before and we all know what it is, but it seems to get dramatically overshadowed by the other parks in Southern California. In terms of roller coasters, this is understandable, you just don't come here for the coasters. Currently they have 2, being Revenge of the Mummy and Flight of the Hippogriff, and these are enjoyable rides, but they're definitely lacking a true standout here. But put the coaster lineup aside and do appreciate what the Hollywood park does have on offer. For starters, it's very well taken care of with super fast operations, sufficient employees, solid food and drink offerings, and a world-class show variety. This is already a great start. Some more things I love about this park: Hogsmeade, aka the Wizarding World of Harry Potter section, is outstanding. It's nothing that you can't find at some of the other Universal parks, but it's still easy to appreciate with a ride on Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey and a sip of frozen butterbeer. Also, the Studio Tour attraction here, which you can only find at this park, is absolutely fantastic. It's an hour-long tour that takes you behind the scenes of your favorite sets and movies with tons of things to look at and 2 miniature rides in itself. So from the outside, it makes sense why you want to pass up on a visit here. It's just so expensive and there's so many better options in the area, but I can definitely look past that and say that this is a rock-solid theme park in its own right. It may not touch other parks that place higher on the list, but it's still great, and that's something you've got to appreciate about Universal Hollywood. Number 22, Six Flags Great Adventure in Jackson, New Jersey. So this is a fairly legendary park, primarily based off of their roller coasters. With 14 total, Great Adventure has one of the best coaster lineups in the world, with some options including El Toro, which is arguably the best wooden coaster on Earth, and King Ka, which is the tallest and second fastest coaster in the world. In addition, Jersey Devil Coaster opened at the park just this year and is the tallest, fastest, and longest single rail coaster anywhere. In terms of non-coasters, there are some fun offerings like Zumanjaro Drop of Doom, Wonder Woman Lasso of Truth, Justice League Battle for Metropolis, and Houdini's Great Escape. Clearly, the park has a great ride lineup, and that's not really arguable, so why doesn't it rank higher on this list? Two important things come to mind, one being park appearance and the other being operations and reliability. Starting with the former, Six Flags Great Adventure isn't exactly an ugly park and actually does have some pretty parts, but other sections seem to be a bit run down and inconsistently taken care of. But the more important issue as of recent is the latter, aka slow operations and lots of downtime. With crews seemingly taking their sweet time to check restraints, you can be waiting in these lines for a pretty dang long time. And where reliability comes into play, which is very important here, is when you've got rides like King Ka, Jersey Devil, and Zumanjaro constantly going down. More recently, El Toro and Nitro have had their fair share of downtime also, which can be a pretty big nuisance. Because El Toro and Jersey Devil were indefinitely closed when I was in the area this year, and with those rides being the main reason I wanted to head back to the park, I didn't even bother with a visit in 2021. So with that being said, I look forward to returning in 2022 when the park is hopefully better off with everything running as normal. This is still a great park and I'd recommend you all visit, so come with those things in mind and I'm sure you'll have a fun visit. But look out for ride closures and other inconveniences before you take the trek out here. Number 21, Knott's Berry Farm in Buena Park, California. One of my home parks, coming from a guy living in San Diego, is an absolutely awesome Cedar Fair park that I sometimes take for granted. Sure, I have plenty of nitpicks and minor complaints I could give Knott's, but deep down, I love it, you love it, I mean, come on, it's Knott's. In terms of atmosphere, this park excels and feels very lively both in the daytime and at nighttime. I'd also say my favorite section of the park is Ghost Town, which has an atmosphere unlike anywhere else in the rest of the park and is one of the reasons I'd classify this park as kind of half theme, half amusement park. In terms of rides, you've got a great roller coaster lineup, great water ride lineup, great dark ride lineup, and some decent flat rides. My personal favorites include Ghost Rider, Accelerator, Hang Time, Timber Mountain Long Ride, Calico Mine Ride, and Calico River Rapids. All of these rides are excellent in their own unique ways. The biggest downside with this park, and I'm sure you've all heard this one before, are definitely the operations. Even compared to other parks in the Cedar Fair chain, Knott's Berry Farm has some poor operations, particularly on Ghost Rider and Accelerator, which are arguably the two signature rides here. But as I've said in the past, the pros certainly outweigh the cons, which is why I am eternally grateful to have this place so close to home. Knott's is a great park and serves as a fantastic in-between compared to Disneyland and Magic Mountain. Number 20, Epcot in Orlando, Florida. The lowest ranked park on this list is still better than 99% of all other parks out there. While Epcot may be lagging behind the other parks at the Walt Disney World Resort, particularly in terms of ride lineup, that's all I can really knock them for. Even then, however, I absolutely loved Test Track, Soarin' Around the World was great too, Frozen Ever After is pretty fun, and Figment is the weirdest piece of shit I've ever ridden. Spaceship Earth is also a classic, though I do look forward to its renovation because parts of it do seem to be outdated. Along with that, all of Future World is undergoing renovation, so that whole section was filled with construction walls and it really wasn't pretty, so that could have also knocked Epcot down a little bit on this list. I will say, World Showcase more than makes up for this. I didn't get to explore a lot of it, but it's an unbelievable idea that they have here. The concept of getting a glimpse into other countries and cultures was a genius move for a land, and so checking out the area is something I'd strongly encourage you to do. Additionally, Epcot has some of the best food offerings in the entire resort. I'd personally recommend Sunshine Seasons. It looks like it would be basic park food at first, but then you try it and your mind is just blown. Now, the last thing I want to point out is that Epcot is undergoing a lot of future development. Obviously, I touched on the Future World refurbishment, but they also just opened Ratatouille, which looks amazing, and will debut their first roller coaster in 2022 with Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. So I definitely keep your eye on Epcot. They seem to have a really bright future ahead, but as I sit right now, I couldn't find it in me to put them any higher on this list. Number 19, Carowinds in Charlotte, North Carolina and Fort Mill, South Carolina. The thing that makes this park most unique is the fact that it was built to celebrate both Carolinas. So to have giant roller coasters flying through numerous states in one ride is something that you will not find anywhere else in the US. Owned and operated by Cedar Fair, I've heard for the longest time that this is one of the company's flagship parks. And while I do agree with this statement, I can't say Carowinds impressed me as much as I was expecting. I would say it met expectations and it's a very good park, but it just seemed to lack the charm of a place like King's Dominion or Knott's Berry Farm. What really makes Carowinds stand above the other parks, however, is the lineup of roller coasters. After visiting, I'm convinced that the park has one of the most complete selection of coasters anywhere in the world. Fury 325 is easily the park's signature attraction and is also one of the top 5 roller coasters I've ever experienced in my life. Following behind it is Copperhead Strike, Afterburn, and Intimidator, which are also all loads of fun. Something else that I found to be a bit interesting about this park is that they have a decent batch of underrated rides. Nighthawk, Vortex, and Hurler all weren't bad coasters, yet they receive a stupid amount of hate on social media. Maybe that's just me, but I thought that they did a nice job complimenting the park's big four. Anyways, Carowinds is a super nice park and is exactly what the Charlotte metro area deserves, considering their population and growth. And as I've said with many of the other parks on this list, Carowinds is not super easy to get to if you're on a coaster road trip. You're probably going to have to end up driving 4 or 3 hours, but it's definitely worth it if you're willing to make the drive. It is a really solid park and, Fury alone makes it more than worth it. Number 18, Six Flags Mexico in Mexico City. Yes, the country of Mexico has a park that was good enough to make this list. For those of you who don't know, I was fortunate enough to take a trip around Mexico earlier this year and I got to visit multiple parks and check out some unbelievable architecture. One of my favorite things I got to do in the country was check out one of the world's greatest Six Flags parks. It's no surprise that this place gets so little recognition amongst coaster enthusiasts simply because it's way down in Mexico, but it's a park that I fell in love with after just one visit. The atmosphere and general appearance of this park is on a whole other level compared to most Six Flags parks. To complement this, they do happen to have what the chain is best known for, and that is a solid roller coaster collection. The top 2, easily, is Medusa Steel Coaster and Superman El Ultimo Escape, which are both currently in my top 20 coasters I've ever ridden. They also have a pretty decent supporting cast after that with some fun flat rides and non-coasters as well. In terms of the park itself, I also just love the location. Mexico City is a huge city, it's very chaotic, but it's also beautiful in many ways, so just looking around as you head up the lift hills and taking it all in is so cool. Another thing I love about Six Flags Mexico is that they have some of the best operations in the Six Flags chain. None of the wait times here ever get long, and I think the biggest reason as to why is less about crowds and more about how the crews do an absolutely amazing job pumping out trains. So I could go on and on about how great this park is. They do virtually everything well for a corporate park, and if any of you ever take a trip to Mexico, this is a must-visit destination. Number 17, Busch Gardens Tampa in Tampa, Florida. I'll admit it, I used to have this park ranked a bit higher, and while I do still love it, it's hard to feed it that same praise with the operational faults it's had over the past year. First of all, you've got Iron Gwazi delayed for 2 years without telling us why, when, or what's happening. And also, when I attended on a Sunday in June, which is like peak tourism season, Cobra's Curse and Falcon's Fury were both down. Now this didn't bother me all too much because I had been to the park before in 2018 and had ridden all the major rides, but if this was my first visit to the park, I would not have been too happy with missing 3 of their marquee attractions. As far as strengths, Busch Gardens Tampa is chock full of beautiful immersive theming and a great all-around coaster collection. My personal favorites are Kumba, Montu, Shikra, and Cheetah Hunt. I think all of those rides are just fantastic. It also looks very well taken care of and very nicely presented overall. Additionally, it has some of that typically awesome SeaWorld entertainment food offerings, and all things considered, it's a large-scale park with tons of stuff going for it. So if you haven't been here before, check the maintenance schedule and plan accordingly, but as long as you keep that into consideration, you will have a great visit to this gorgeous theme park. Number 16, Busch Gardens Williamsburg in Williamsburg, Virginia. Being the Golden Ticket Award for the most beautiful theme park in the world is high praise and what I was anticipating the most from this park, to be honest. Obviously, we all know that the Golden Tickets can be full of shit and entirely inaccurate, but they were kind of right in this case. Not in a way where this is the most beautiful park ever, that's simply not true, but I do respect that they acknowledge the park's sheer beauty because that is a very strong suit of this place. To complement this, I absolutely loved all the different themed areas. My personal favorite was probably Germany with the incredible Alpengeist and a really cool restaurant called Das Festhaus. And moving on over to the ride lineup, I'd say this is about on par with the Tampa park. Currently, the park's best roller coaster is Pantheon, but that's still yet to open to the public, and that's just a fact. But behind it is Griffin, Verbolten, Apollo's Chariot, and the aforementioned Alpengeist. All of these are awesome rides. So generally speaking, I do like both Busch Gardens parks about evenly, but I think I just like the European theming a bit more than the African theming, and also this one just seemed to be ran better in the post-COVID amusement world. But both are great. Busch Gardens Williamsburg is a big thumbs up, and I'd highly recommend it. Number 15, Disney's California Adventure. Heading on over to California, we've got our first park from the Disneyland Resort, and this is a seriously impressive second gate. Considering the history of this park and considering it had a pretty rough start at the beginning, it's amazing how Disney has turned it around. They have invested so much time and money into this place, making it really great, and from what I can gather, it's been more than worth it. What I will say is, I'm not going to lie, the atmosphere of Disney's California Adventure and even some of the individual lands seem to be a bit less quality oriented than what you can find at the other Disney parks. Obviously, I can't really say this about Cars Land, Avengers Campus, and Grizzly Peak. Those are all amazing, but the rest of the park really won't blow you away. Now, what definitely will blow you away is the ride lineup here. There doesn't seem to be a clear number one ride in the park, but they've got a multitude of high quality attractions to battle it out. One of them is Radiator Springs Racers, which is the anchor of the incredibly otherworldly Cars Land. Another is Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, one of the best drop towers anywhere in the world if you even want to call it that. A personal favorite mine also includes Soarin' Around the World, which is the same that you could find over at Epcot in Florida. Some other highlights: Incredicoaster is loads of fun, Grizzly River Run is an S-tier rapids ride, and Web Slingers is low-key one of the most underappreciated rides in the resort, even though it's new. So the only reason California Adventure doesn't rank higher on the list is because the atmosphere at the following parks are just unmatched by basically any other park in the world. I still love this place to death though, and I'm happy to say it's one of my home parks living in San Diego, California. So there we have it. That is part 1 of 2 for my top 30 theme parks I've been to. As you could probably tell, the different factors in what makes a theme park or an amusement park great has made it quite difficult to stack them up against each other. But nonetheless, I hope you all got a kick out of it and can at least respect my rankings. If your list differs, I would love to see some comments and discussions flowing down below, and I'll try to interact with as many of you guys to the best of my ability. Now with that being said, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Stay tuned for part 2. Bye guys.